Alistair has called from North Yorkshire. Hello, Alistair.
Hi, Sheila, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes, yeah.
Great. Shall I just go? I've made a few notes.
Fire away, yes. You made notes. Oh, people who do homework, I love it.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, my mum listens to you all the time, and she was saying that I was sort of expressing my opinion, and she said, well, you should tell Sheila, so
oh, that's good. Thank you. Good old mum. Thanks, Alistair.
Definitely. Well, actually, what I would say, I mean, what's motivated me to ring was I did get quite involved with Labour during the Corbyn years.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Did you campaign for him?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, to be honest, what I would say is it was refreshing there to hear John McTernan calling for what I would argue much the same the things that I was campaigning for that Corbyn represented, which is basically, at the end of the day, people do need to feel some kind of improvement in their lives.
Of course, yeah.
I concede, obviously, while I support Jeremy Corbyn, I wouldn't describe myself as a radical in particular, but I would argue that we do need some kind of serious change in this country of how our wealth is distributed, and it's where that is. I mean, Keir Starmer himself did give 10 pledges, which was why he won the leadership of the party, one of which was that we would tax the top 5% of owners. Now, he seems to have ditched that policy. And yes, I can understand the political argument for that. We don't want to upset people, but at the same time, there seems to have been an evolution from the Starmer which stood for election, who defended Corbyn and said he was his friend, etc., and the Starmer we have now. Because what's frustrating is when you see people like, when you see these things like Starmer and Reeves removing, for example, the Winter Fuel Allowance.
Yeah.
Because that's just, all that's doing is putting vulnerable people at risk. Now, maybe that should be means tested, but those voters in 4 years' time, the reason Trump won at the end of the day is because he was saying to voters, are you better off now?
No, you're right. I mean, but, you know, the other difficulty for Labour, I think, is that, and we saw it with the budget and then the response to the budget, didn't we, that there are people who have put their hope and their trust in Labour. You know, they might, clearly to get the majority they got, they managed to get a lot of people who didn't previously vote for them to vote for them again, or to vote for them for the first time. And if people are feeling, rightly or wrongly, that they've already had a tax raid on their assets, their farm, their pensions, or their heating, you're right, they will remember it.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is what we need to do, what Labour needs to think about is how it can basically access wealth. I mean, there's a lot of money out there. I mean, there's this current thing about how the royals are getting all this tax from charities. I mean, that's really wrong, isn't it?
Well, we did an hour on that, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I've actually recently joined the Green Party because they're... And it's basically, I think, the question of wealth redistribution, and the existence of the royals kind of normalises the super rich.
Well, I think that the royal documentary on Channel 4, I don't think it got as much pickup as it should have done.
No, it didn't, did it? No.
The thing that vexed me about it, or the main thing that did, was the various the various duchies' responses to it were saying these are businesses, we're running businesses, that need upkeeping and maintaining everything. Well, pay your corporation tax then.
Absolutely.
If you're a business,
that was another of Keir Starmer's pledges, was to clamp down on corporation tax. I mean, in all honesty, I think an argument can be made that Keir Starmer is no more no more honest than Boris Johnson. I mean, he won. Yes, Keir Starmer has basically, in fact, both Keir Starmer and Kemi Badenoch and even Trump have arguably said, and Boris Johnson, have said what needs to be said at the time for them to win power. And yes, there's a political argument for all of that, but by the same token, once you've won that power, you need to use that power for people to feel that their lives are better. Something else I'd just like to throw in while I'm on air is, I think, the whole situation in Palestine. And, that is a genocide, which unfortunately our government and the American government is backing. And again, I think that costs a lot of... Well, you know that it...
the killing and the death and the agony is appalling, and the keeping of the hostages is appalling, and what happened on October the 7th is appalling, and what's happening to the Gazans is appalling. But I'm just doing my job when I say to you that it hasn't been adjudicated to be a genocide.
Yes, well, that's obviously that's debatable, and you're entitled to say that. But what I would say is the way that our government and I believe the United Nations have had serious concerns about it, but the way that that's been handled by our government and America isn't helping them. I mean, it's interesting if you look at, for example, if you go back and look at when Starmer stood to be leader and Labour together were involved. I remember there's quite a good article in the New Statesman when someone tried to characterise Starmerism, and the idea was it would build a big coalition between like young progressive voters and older voters. And I remember during the Corbyn times it was frustrating because we were campaigning for all of the things which John McTernan's saying now, and then we were told by the people we refer to as the sensible grown-ups in the room, oh no, you mustn't be too radical because it will scare the voters. And I agree with that political argument. And okay, Starmer has now, his faction have won that argument. They've now won power. So now the challenge is for them to actually use that power to improve people's lives, to ensure that, I mean, I hope they're listening to this, and because the risk is that if they continue to just sort of, sort of do things around the edges, but not, if people don't feel meaningful change in their lives, then the risk is that Farage, or as John was saying,
Johnson,
your populists like Johnson will come forward and make all these promises, which we know, I mean, hopefully, maybe with Boris and Brexit, we've had that in this country and it's sensible enough. Does this all make sense?
It all makes perfect sense, and I'm delighted that your mum got you to call.
Yeah, I'm pleased to have had this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, basically, what I am open if Starmer and Labour together and all those people want to have a conversation with me, and I can explain, look, now you've won power, this is what I think you need to do to maintain it.
And what do you do yourself, Alistair?
I run live comedy events.
Oh, lovely.
Got quite a few coming up in York. We've got one on Saturday night, if I can do a bit of promo.
Go on.
It's at York Theatre 31. It's called Theatre 41. It's a really funny sketch comedy group called Tarot, who take suggestions from the audiences and improvise, and they're really good.
All right.
It's called Burning Duck Comedy Club, if people want to check it out online. We've got stuff going on in Leeds as well.
Okay. Well, call again, but I can't promise a plug every time.
That's okay.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much, Sheila.
All right, Alistair.
Enjoy the show, thank you.
Thank you, and regards to your mum as well. This is how you grow an audience. The mum likes the show and she tells her kids to ring. That's the answer. It's 2:30. Let's get some headlines from Amelia Cox.